Hey, I'm Earl Coleman, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we'll cover common mistakes made with the end of the year review, my personal framework for reflection, as well as question prompts to walk you step by step through the process. Let's begin. Let's start off with going over some of the common mistakes people make with this end of the year process. The number one mistake is not approaching it with the appropriate mindset. It doesn't matter if you achieved and crushed all of your goals in this year, or if you're just looking forward to the fresh start on January 1. We're really using this similarly to how athletes use tape after a game. You watch game film of the previous game to understand what can be done differently to improve in the future. The second mistake is not evaluating things holistically. It's very easy to look at things only in one specific area of our lives. For example, with our career/business, or just looking at things as they relate to our health or our personal relationships. We really want to approach it to be able to look at all the areas of our lives to think about our overall general performance. Now that we've identified a couple of the common mistakes, I want to share with you my GPS framework for reflecting. If I were to call you now and tell you that I was sending you a private plane and that could take you anywhere you wanted to go in the world, what would you do? Would you go to Paris to see the Eiffel Tower? Or maybe go to Dubai to be at the top of the Burj Khalifa? Regardless of what you decide, there's one piece of information that I would need to know. I would need to know your current location. Now let's break down the GPS framework on 3 things that we should consider when reflecting. First step is to get honest with where we truly are. Just like with the GPS, the first thing that they ask you is for your current location to be able to map towards where you'd like to go. The second step is to persist even when it gets uncomfortable. It'd be very easy in this process to only go through and look at and evaluate the things that went well. Or conversely, just to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter at all because I didn't achieve anything. But that's where the real value comes, is being able to persist behind that desire to quit. And the final step of this GPS process is to systemize our reflection. While it's great that you're doing this at the end of the year or whenever you find yourself watching this video, we really need to think about, okay, how can I put a cadence of reflection throughout the year and what that looks like to be able to achieve peak performance. Now that we better understand a couple common things to avoid, we familiarized ourselves with the GPS framework. Now let's get out a pen and paper to go through the prompts to evaluate 2021, to position ourselves to make 2022 the best year yet. As we go through this, I want to remind you that we want to think about this holistically. So how do these questions relate to all of the areas of life that mean the most to you, whether that's friends or family or your career or your physical health? Think about it in each of those terms as we begin. What are some things that you're proud of yourself for this past year? Maybe you ran your first marathon or created a new holiday tradition for your family. Nothing's too small or too big. It doesn't matter if it will mean anything to anybody else. This is your opportunity to write down the things that you're proud of yourself for. Congratulations. The next thing we're going to evaluate is, what are the things that aren't perfect yet? This is where we write out all the things that we know that we need to change that we haven't done yet. The next area of evaluation is, where am I confused? There's a quote that I love that says, a confused mind does nothing. So as we prepare for being able to create our plans for next year and our New Year's resolutions, we must first identify those areas that are currently confused in our life so that we can be able to move beyond them. The next area of reflection is, what was missing in my life? It could be I didn't have a plan for my business. It could be I lacked the accountability partner to ensure that I followed through on everything that I was doing. What is something that was missing? And lastly, what do we need to eliminate for our life going into the next year? What are some of those things that are staying in 2021 that won't go with us into 2022? To recap, we want to avoid the common mistakes of end of year planning. We want to remember the GPS framework, and we want to use the prompts to evaluate where we currently are so we can use this to create momentum as we step into 2022. What do you find most helpful for this video? Post in the comments below. Talk soon.